I'm your host, Tiffany Lee Gaston. Thank you so much for joining me this morning on the Awaken the Badass podcast. Today's special guest is none other than Badass himself. DJ Larry Jones is in the house. Larry, thank you for joining me. How are you doing?
I'm doing very, very well. This is different for me. And you know what? Normally, I don't get nervous when I'm interviewing others, but for some odd reason, I'm extremely nervous.
I make you nervous, Larry. Is it
You make me very...
my hand? Is
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna flip the script a little bit today, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to use your platform and your audience to practice a little bit for what I see my future might be angling towards. What do you say?
You got a bright future. Very well. Very well. Let's do it.
Well, to those that do not know of you and your incredible platform and the people that you bring to us, can you share just a little bit about yourself?
Well, about myself. I was born the son of a sharecropper. No, I'm just joking. I was
I like it.
I was born and raised in New York City. And I moved to the South back in early 2000s. Now, I'm going to go a little deeper than that. I was always into music. I wanted to be in the music industry forever, right? Who doesn't want that? But anyway, I found myself making music online, and lo and behold, long story short, I get a phone call from a guy in California who wants me to, a very well-known guy in California, wants me to do some work on his project. How he found me was it was a young man I was giving music to who knew someone who knew someone who knew someone. I get a phone call from this guy. I didn't believe it was him, so I hung up on him. He calls back and he asks me, he says, well, can you get to California? No, Las Vegas at the time. He said, could you get to Vegas? And I said, yeah, I can get there. Didn't know who I was going to stay with. Didn't know anybody in Vegas. Got to Vegas. He wasn't there. Oh, can you make it to California? Didn't know anyone in California. Now, this story goes super long. I'm not going to get into it. I'll tell you about it later. Made my way to California. We link up. But the music business was something I really didn't want to get involved in once I was actually in it. But I've always loved the whole thing about entertainment. I always loved it. So I started DJing. Then DJing was like, okay, you know what? I'm just getting so tired of people. Oh, play this, put this on. Drunk people. Oh, let's play this. I just said, no. So I said, you know what? I'll rather do radio. No one can see me. No one can tell me what to play. No one can. And I did that. Got a job at a very well-known radio station in Charlottesville, Virginia. And the pandemic hit, lost my job. So then I took things to YouTube with my interviews. Interviewed tons of celebrities. And now I'm here.
Oh my goodness. What a journey it has been to this point, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. So, I've got to say, if that brings us to today, the pandemic got you to that point, then what I've observed in your following, which seems pretty tremendous on your platforms, Facebook and otherwise, you did that in such a short time frame. I mean, we're in the millions when we talk about the kind of viewership that you get.
Yeah.
So you built that on your own since how many years would you say?
I would say about 5 years.
Powerful stuff.
About 5 years.
That tells me you have a voice people want to listen to.
But sometimes I feel like no one is listening because you don't know who's listening. You know what I mean? You put this out there and, you really don't know who's listening or who's paying attention. But yeah,
I think we rely on the feedback. And I've got to say, just from an episode that we recorded last week, the feedback I'm receiving is pretty powerful. So yeah. I don't know how and why things come together, but I always do believe there's a reason. So I'm very grateful to connect with you. And, that's a beautiful background. What exactly inspires you to bring on not just the people in the music industry, not just the celebrities that some of us look up to, but inspirational humans from all walks of life? I've noticed that seems to be a real driver for you. What is it about that causes you to show up in this space?
I feel like everybody has a story to tell. And everyone has an interesting story, some more interesting than others. There's nothing wrong with interviewing celebrities, but it's the real folks that, we can relate to. Everyday working people who's actually going through something need, I feel, something that they can say, you know what, if they did it, I can do it. If he made it there or she made it there, I can do it. I never felt like Now, if you have to do this, then it's obviously it's fine. But I've never felt working a 9 to 5 job was, just working, going home, paying bills. That cycle really wasn't for me. I felt different. I felt like there was more to life than working, paying bills, going home, and repeating the cycle. So I've never been afraid to get out there and try anything new. And and I want people to feel like, listen, it's a big world out there. See some of it. I believe God put us on this planet to see the world, enjoy the world. Why not do that? You know what I mean? Don't limit yourself to work, home, work, home. It's a big world out there. Go see some of it.
Agreed. And you're bringing so much of that to people that might otherwise not have that experience. So you're doing your part. Thank you for that. I do speak so much about mental health and sobriety over in this little space in the internet here. I don't know if that's how we connected, or perhaps it is somewhat, because you did reveal to me when we spoke last that in your upbringing, you had some negative impact from observing alcohol. Can you share and enlighten us a little bit with what that looks like in your world and how you walk forward today with or without alcohol?
Absolutely. My dad was an alcoholic. He was from St. Thomas, Virgin Islands, right? And there's no secret, he was an alcoholic. I can remember being a young child, and he was also in a band. He was a musician, and I can remember me being a young child, and he would have his friends over there and stuff like that. When they would leave, I would sneak into the living room and turn up the little bottles that they had left on the table, which was always gin and stuff like that. As I got older, I started drinking. Now, I don't know if that caused me to drink. I believe the reason I started to drink was more internal than that. But that's where the match was lit. That's where I was introduced to it, you know. And as I got older, things were getting worse because he would physically abuse my mom, and eventually he left the home. I was still young. Eventually he left the home. Now, when he left, things got rough as far as no food. He was the main provider. There was no food. I mean, we went without eating sometimes, a lot of times. So I get older and things still stay the same, which is another story. And I will get into that some other time, but it gets wild. Things still stay the same well into my teens with no food and stuff like that. I can remember the first job I had, and it wasn't much because I was still in middle school, and I was working in a record store, ironically, part time. And I would get my first check. I didn't know whether I should buy a sandwich or something to eat because there was no food in the house, or buy alcohol. I would always choose alcohol. Always choose alcohol. I would go to the liquor store at a young age. In New York City, they didn't care. You walk in there at 15, you buy what you want. And I would go in there, buy me, I'll never forget, it was a fifth of Bacardi Light. I would get that, drink it with a bag of chips every day. When I wake up in the morning, I would have to have either a bottle of beer by the side of the bed or the leftover Bacardi, and wake up and turn that up just to start my day. So it got rough today. Well, we'll get into what I'm doing today. But yeah, it got rough, and yeah, thank God I survived it. It could have gotten worse.
That's really scary. I think when we are subjected to something, we very much, we can be programmed by it, or we can go another direction. And I think much like you, that behavior was modeled in my home from a young age. And if I didn't know differently, I thought it was the norm. A lot of that is how we take on behaviors and things. And until people like us show up and show a different walk and show others that it's possible, I really think it goes so far just to hear that, like, it doesn't have to be that way. Did you have a true rock bottom moment where you realized that perhaps you were utilizing alcohol in a negative way, or that you had been desensitized by it?
I had these up and down moments where I would say, I'm going to go on a health kick, and I would try to stop drinking, right? And it never lasted long, but I would try to stop drinking for a few days and drink water and stuff like that. It wasn't anything healthy. My bottom was when my mom kept kicking me out of the house. Get out, get out, get out. Well, it gets deeper than that. But yeah, for basically no reason at all. Just get out. And so one day she told me to get out, and I left for good. I went to Massachusetts. I went to Buffalo, then back to Massachusetts, and back and forth between friends and family and stuff like that. Couch hopping, basically. That was my bottom.
And how old were you?
At that time, I was 19 years old.
Wow.
19 years old. Yeah, and that was my bottom. I said, you know what? I got to get it together. I have to get myself together. All the while still drinking. You know, it was hard to kick it. But that was my bottom. And when I finally got a job, 'cause I didn't get a job until I was like maybe 23, 24, because then I knew I was coming into, you know, being a real man. I had to do something to take care of myself.
Yeah.
And that was it. That was it. And then when I got a job, I said, this is it. Started working, still drinking, partying, going to clubs, back and forth to California, Vegas, partying like a rock star. But then I'm going to fast forward a bit. This is what really stopped me right in my tracks when I had a heart attack. I had a heart attack. I know I didn't tell you that, right? I had a heart attack. Yeah. The doctor said, because I was smoking cigarettes, drinking liquor, just doing everything. And during the actual heart attack, I thought it was food poisoning. I didn't know. I didn't have any chest pains or anything like that. I didn't know what it was. Prior to that, I had eaten some Chinese food. So I thought the throwing up, the sweating, the diarrhea, I thought all of that was food poisoning. So I go in my garage and I'm like, oh, I feel like crap. So I light a cigarette. But when I lit the cigarette, it felt like all of the smoke sat right here. And I said, something is wrong. And that's when I went to the hospital and I was in active heart attack mode, congestive heart failure. It was bad. And that was the absolute bottom. Haven't drank anything since, haven't smoked anything since, don't want it. I've been, you know, on this health kick.
And what year was that, or what age?
That was about 3 years ago.
You had a heart attack 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
That was your aha moment of sorts?
Yeah.
Terribly sorry to hear that. But I wonder, let me ask you this though. Would you say, good, I'm glad that happened for me? So it was a game changer for you? Because I know sometimes we can play victim in our own world, or we can rise to the occasion and take all of our excuses out of our backpack and walk forward and show the F up for us. And was that your moment?
That was the moment. That's the moment where I said, I was in the hospital. I was laying in the bed and I said, you know, I was crying. I said, I don't want to die.
That is powerful. In that moment, it's like there was an awareness that something had to give. I think that speaks to so many people. But conversely, not everyone has like a rock bottom. And I want people to very clearly understand that it may not look like something of a health incident taking you to your knees, or in my instance, mental health breakdown. It can be the dissolve of a family. It can be a relationship break. It can be showing up in so many ways throughout your life. And until you really look at it, it's like God keeps showing us something until we get the message. Yeah. And some of us bang our heads against the wall a little bit longer than we need to. But I think you and I would both agree we're pretty grateful to get here. So yeah, I know that the world needs our voice loudest.
Absolutely.
And another really big proponent of my lifestyle and is my mindset. How do you show up every day for celebrities and inspirational humans that you're going to bring to the rest of us to get us all, geeked out about living a better life? What do you do that sets the tone for the day? What do your non-negotiables look like?
Well, first thing I do in the morning, I drink a cup of hot lemon water. First thing in the morning, hot lemon water. Drink that. Then I make a green smoothie. Drink the smoothie, and then I'll about an hour later I'll have like 3 hard-boiled eggs and some toast, with avocado toast. Then mentally I'm already there because this is what I love to do. So when I go to sleep at night, this is running through my head. Mm-hmm. So it's hard for me to sleep. It's hard for me to sleep because I have questions running through my head. I have answers running through my head. I have ways to grow the platform in my head, wanting to make the right connections and meet people to help grow the platform, to spread the message even further. So I really don't need. I don't do anything, that riles me up or gears me up for it. That's just my regimen right there.
That's good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of like meditation, journaling, fitness, whatever it looks like, are there some things that outside of your hot lemon water, all of that is fantastic? Are you in the gym? Do you walk a certain amount of miles or steps a day? Are you hitting the weights? What does fitness, if you will, look like in your world?
Meditation is huge. Meditation is huge for me. I love meditation. Got to clear all of the junk out of my head, right? Sometimes. I haven't been to the gym. I haven't been back to the gym in a while. I need to go.
Where'd you get those? Where'd you get those done?
I used to be a huge. I used to be a huge gym junkie, right?
Okay.
But when I had the heart attack, I kind of lost the sting for going. But now mentally I'm there because I started eating right. And once I started eating right, you can feel the energy coming back. So now I'm like, I have to get back in there. So that's definitely on the list.
I love it. So you're banging on all cylinders now. That's great. Sometimes it takes us to get kicked in the junk just to get up and running better.
Yeah.
Oh, it's been so wonderful to get to know you more. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience? And please tell us where people can find more of you.
Oh, they can find me on social media at DJ_Larry Jones. There's not much more that there's something. I want them to know that you and I have something special coming up really soon.
Well, we'll
leave it at that, right?
Okay, that's interesting. And I would like to ask you one more question that I think is really sort of burning in my mind, and what I ask a lot of people in closing, and that would be, if little Larry could do things differently, how would he like to see this chapter end?
Wow. Happy. Happy, closer to God, successful. And what successful looks like for me is basically happiness. I mean, of course I want to get paid well for what I do, and I believe that will come in time. But yeah, that's all I ask for. That's all I ask for. Happiness, peace.
I love it.
Peace of mind. You can't put a price tag on peace of mind, and that's all I want.
I think you're showcasing that to the rest of us, and we can all go back and revisit different parts of our life at different times and consider how we might do things differently. But I think the little you would probably be very proud of how you're showing up today. So kudos to you. And it's been an honor to get to interview you on your own show.
I know, right?
Yeah, this is fun.
Yeah, I love it. Let's do it again. All right. You're watching the Power Hour with myself and Tiffany Lee Gaston.
Until next time.
Until next time.